What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Turner here with the season 2 finale of the No Stress Midwest podcast. We are joined here by someone who I've made reference to a bit in past episodes of the podcast. Monica here is someone that gave me kind of the idea of getting the all-female guest list together. We'll kind of talk more about it as we go on. But Monica, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Hello. Thanks for having me.
So I'll be honest, and I'm only saying this to you because it's you. I did not want to attempt to say your last name because I'll be honest, I've never said it.
I don't fault you for that, and it's
I don't
okay.
want to sound like a loser
It's
on
okay.
here. So can you say it, Monica, so I can
Yes. It is pronounced Bosiljevac. The J is silent.
The silent J, huh?
Yes, and I would never be offended if you pronounced it the wrong way. I understand.
People still do the silent J things.
I get like Bosiljevac a lot, or just
Yeah.
like something way out of left field, like
Monica Bosiljevac.
Bosiljevac.
Vac.
Vac.
Okay, so we got that out the way.
Here we go.
How's your day going?
It's good. It's low key. It's the Friday after Thanksgiving that we're filming this, so just kind of a low key day, right?
Did you go Black Friday shopping? Did they even have that?
I have not done any Black Friday shopping. I've gotten a lot of like email links to online sales that I've been tempted to click through on, but I haven't made any purchases yet.
That's good. That's good. We were just watching the women's national team game together, but remotely. You know,
Right.
We were distanced a little more than socially, you could say.
Yeah, a couple 100 miles, not just feet away.
Yeah, a couple states, but whatevs. And typically my TV is faster than Monica's, so I usually will spoil things if I'm that guy. I didn't today.
And actually, another friend of mine I was texting with, she did what you usually did, which is, oh my God, what a great goal. And here I am, like the ball's on the other half of the field. I'm like, well, something's about to happen.
Right,
okay. And sure enough, that was the beautiful Rose Lavelle goal. Yeah.
It was
I'm like, no, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it was a nice one. I actually missed Rose's goal. I stepped away, and it's always like that. You step away for a second, and magic happens. But I stayed the rest of the game, and I saw Christie's goal. So I always thought she was younger than Sam, but it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Christie's older than Sam. All right, so let's get this podcast going. So a little background. I gave Monica the idea. Well, not the idea, but I was talking to her about season 1 and telling her the guest list, and she responds to me and's like, "I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm gonna listen to any of them. Why don't you have any females on?" And like, I'm excited that I just like put off this first season of the podcast.
I know I kind of like maybe burst your bubble just like slightly.
It was a big pop. It was a big burst. I was just like, dang. I was like, man, I was really happy. But then you brought up a good point, and
I was still hopefully like supportive and a good friend, and was like, I'm really proud of you, but what the heck?
But there aren't any people I want to listen to. So Monica told me that. I remember I was leaving soccer. I remember this. I was at the fields. She texted me that I was going to leave to go home, and the whole drive, I'm just like, yo, like, what the heck, man? What the heck? But in fairness to Monica, I texted her and I was like, if you're going to say something like that, hook me up with someone that I could interview, because I don't know that many women in the professional or college ranks like that. And Monica delivered with two podcast guests, Miss Maddie Nulf and Caitlin Shrepner. Shrepner.
You got it. It's okay.
I don't say last names because of this.
Well, and so like from my side of things, I remember like you were super excited, and I was like, yeah, cool, but like, what the heck? Like, come on, man! Like, you're gonna have all males, like just give me like one, right? And so just like simultaneously, yeah, you probably were driving home and like thought about it. And then I just remember getting the text, you know, a day or two later that was like, all right, I heard what you said. I listened, even though I was mad about it and my bubble had been burst,
It
but
hurts me,
I'm
yeah.
gonna do an all-female lineup. And I was like, great, like let's make it happen because yeah, I might know a handful or like two, like I said, but
Yeah.
there's people out there that can hook you up with other great female ballers. And now we have a all-female season 2 lineup.
We do. And I want to just put this out here for the record. I did not choose the all male guest list because they were all males. I just I chose them because they were people I knew, and it just so happened to be all males, right?
And I would imagine that we'll probably get into this later too, but that's like just one of those things when you work with diversity issues of like, yeah, it's normal that you call the people you know, and
Right.
you're likely to flock to people of the same gender
Yep.
sometimes when that happens. So
And
totally natural. It takes intentionality, and it also takes like an angry, fun feminist friend to call you out over text
kick
directly.
me
And
kick me
yeah.
in the right direction. No, it was you know, the guys were obviously easier because I knew them, but this season was like it was different because like you had two people, right? So when you first gave me the two people, you weren't a guest. Like you were a very late addition to the guest list.
I'm glad I made the cut
No, you
ultimately.
did, yeah. But there was a lot of back and forth between the team, a lot of deliberation. But no, like you gave me two people, and I'm like, all right, I've got a little start here. Then Maddie was trying to work on getting me someone else, and then I reached out to a friend of mine who played in North Carolina and knew Carrie, and then
Mhm.
Carrie was like, oh yeah, I can get you someone, and then there was there, and then next thing I know, like it really grew fast.
One
Um
of my favorite things about your lineup that you had was that you didn't necessarily have like the big headliner names
yeah,
necessarily, right? And so that was really fun for me just to listen to the grassroots story of Addison Merrick from Kansas City, and that was super relatable. And just all the different women you had, and Carrie's story. I loved hearing Carrie's story because you just, again, I'm not in her market where she plays, and I'm not where
right.
she's from, so that was just cool to hear her experience at Notre Dame, and then the draft day stories are always really fun that you incorporated. So
Yeah.
I loved this season, obviously.
No, yeah, it's and like I mean I didn't have the big name people because I'm not a big name person. I couldn't
You're
pull
with me. You got me.
yeah, I couldn't pull big name people. So that was that. I just want to clear the record. But no, I think though that in its like in context, everyone has a different story, and those big name people are the ones whose stories you already know, right?
Mhm.
You know Alex Morgan, you know Kristen Press, you know Tobin Heath, you know all these people, so there's nothing new. Now granted, getting them on, I'm not saying I'm like anti anti any of that, but getting I like you said grassroots and people that are on whose stories are more relatable, the ones who had to freaking grind it out or got injured multiple times or didn't have the easiest path. Or what I found is everyone was a baller in high school. Like everyone was just like an absolute stud. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't hear of any of you people. Like, what the heck?
I think
Um,
that's a lesson I've learned just as I've gotten older too. Is like I used to think to be an inspiration or to like have a big impact on someone, you had to have this like rags to riches, like really,
mm,
you know, or something traumatic happened to you, or like some big hurdle that you had to overcome. And that's really not the case. Like everyone has a story, and everyone pulls different parts from your story that can be, you know, relatable or inspirational. So
yep.
it was a really cool season. If
Yeah,
you ask me.
yeah, I was gonna say, and then we're ending with you, kind of like the glue that inspired this, but you know, I don't want to make your ego too
It's
big.
no, just like watch
We're
it. It might go off the screen.
yeah, we're both kind of similar. So I want to make sure I keep you
Yeah, yeah.
seated and not floating and not floating away. Um, so all right, Monica, let's get into it. Let's talk about little Mon or Moni, as
Okay.
I found out people call you.
Yes.
What was life like in Omaha, Nebraska? Because there are people that are
Life is
listening.
good.
There's life in Omaha. I went there for my first time. Omaha was actually pretty
I know.
legit. I'm not gonna lie.
Omaha is Omaha is pretty legit. We got the secret sauce. No, life was good in Omaha. As you found out, uh, I grew up like it just life was good. Grew up in Omaha.
Where are you right now?
Okay,
You're in your house.
I'm in my house, which is my childhood house that we bought from my parents and that I now live in. So,
With
life
your
in Omaha,
husband.
I had like a
With your
pretty
husband. So
simple,
now it was you were a child. You grew
yeah,
up.
yeah,
You and your husband then bought it from your parents, and now you're
right.
living in this house again.
Correct. So
That's
I wanted the Christmas tree background. It's the holidays.
not
Had to
surprising.
invest it.
Not surprising.
No,
All right,
life
so
was
what's
good.
Omaha like? What was club soccer like? How did you get involved with soccer? Who were some of your influences? Did you play with the boys? Did you push them down when they weren't looking to yeah,
Yeah,
What
it's
was
really
it like?
scrappy. Um, Great question. So I describe Omaha just in general as kind of a city with like big city amenities, but kind of that small town feel. So it usually doesn't take you that far to like figure out a connection you have with someone from one thing or another, or just growing up playing soccer in the club soccer scene. You kind of get a pretty good understanding of who the great players are, who the great teams are, the coaches, and you just kind of develop that soccer community that we know is so strong and among people that love the game. So I played for both like my grade school a little bit, and then kind of got into that club soccer scene.
Mhm.
And then my age group growing up, there was really three core teams in the age group, and my team honestly stuck together. We had the same like 16 players as like our core,
Yeah.
basically from when we were like 10 years old all the way through college. And I would say, just as a club and as a team in our age group, we were the dominant force throughout that entire time. And then there was another team that was just always the contender against us in state cup and that sort of thing. And you would have players go back and forth a little bit. And then there was another team or club that, were always contenders too
It's
amongst,
so
the,
it's
the
funny.
smaller clubs.
They're contenders. Like you never said they were competition. It was always they're contenders.
They're
Uh,
contenders. Yeah.
Now you said you were the dominant team, your club team. You had four, was it four straight state cup titles or just four in that span?
No, so like I think those four probably that you looked up in the stats were probably in high school. Like I think we won every year, freshman through senior year of high
Yeah.
school. But we were also, I mean, at U11, U12, U13, like going into it, we were winning state cup games too. So maybe we missed one. I don't know if we had like a true 8-year streak or whatever, but
Right, but so you won
we had
every year.
a really dominant and fun team that stuck together, which was really fun.
Wow. Okay. So that's a lot of state cup titles. Um Man, I don't know where I get all these people that just have these phenomenal youth playing careers.
Well,
Uh but
I feel fortunate you're grouping me with the people of the past lineup that you had.
oh, of course, Monty, right? Monty. Okay, so that was club soccer.
Yep.
What was high school like? Now, for the people listening, I did go. I was up in Omaha a few weeks ago, and Monica, being who she was, gave me a tour of uh, Omaha, and we drove by the school that she coaches at. Right, we'll get into that, and she played. But it was really crazy because so we're driving and it's just very casual, pull into a parking lot and she points, it's like, yeah, so that's where the nuns live. And I'm like, what the okay, like, all right, cool. And then I'm like looking at for the soccer field and I turn and she's like, and that's the cemetery. And I'm like, whew. And then right over there is the soccer field.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, what the heck? So what was high school like? I saw you played.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm going to provide some context. Yeah. So
I don't know what context you can provide to make that story seem normal, but I would love to hear it.
Okay, so well, I just want to say, so I went to a Catholic grade school, K through 8, and then I had an older sister that went to an all-girls Catholic high school in Marion, and I had an older brother. He went to a public school, Westside High School. So when I was in 8th grade, my parents actually said, "Hey, listen, we're in the district. Westside's a great school. You're going to go to Westside for high school." And I had always had my heart set on going to Marion, and like just I grew up watching their soccer team, and they were dominant. I mean, they were just a powerhouse school and soccer program in the 2000s, and they won for high school state soccer like 5 or 6 years in a row. They were just incredible.
Yeah.
And so my heart was broken. So I went to Westside for a year, and then I did end up transferring and going to Marion for the next 3 years. Where
How did you finesse that? What did you tell mom and dad?
I like had a whole presentation that I put together, which I know you're not surprised.
Not surprised.
And even like, I think my friends from grade school, we like put a petition together and like collected signatures of like, Monica should get to go to Marion. And then I gave this presentation to my parents, and it was a whole big thing. So there was some like, I guess early, I don't know if that's the saleswoman in me or just the organized person in me that put together this presentation to convince my parents that no, I should really get to go to Marion High School. So Marion then is an all-girls Catholic high school
that has
nuns that live on campus, and a great atmosphere for girls, and a tremendous education, and an amazing soccer program. An amazing campus.
And a cemetery.
And a cemetery.
On campus. Yeah. But okay, so Marion, you said, was a powerhouse. I have heard of Marion before I met you, when I like was I was as a assistant coach in a Catholic school. So a lot of the Catholic local high schools, you just you hear the name. So I did hear of Marion, but all I heard was the name.
Yeah.
So while you were there, what was your time like for those 3 years?
Yeah, so I came in as a sophomore and made the varsity team, and we were actually kind of in this like lull as a school. So we hadn't won a state championship in like 4 years or something like that. So my sophomore and junior year, we did not win. My senior year, thank goodness, we broke the streak and we made it to the finals, and we won in the finals. And it was 1-0 against, we played Westside in the finals. So it was like a really
school
that was the school I went to.
Oh,
so that was
goodness. Wow.
It was a really big rivalry game, and I know I'll get a hard time from people if I don't share this and disclose this on the podcast, but it was 1-0 and I scored the winning goal.
Oh my goodness. So you won a state championship. It came off of your foot.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. What went through your mind? Well, all right, because I know you remember. Those are things that are etched in forever.
Yeah.
So which direction was the wind blowing, first off?
Well,
was there a slight breeze?
I think it was a north-south wind.
North-south?
I don't know what way the wind was blowing. I know this. Ellen McCormick goes streaking down the right-hand side of the field, and I play center midfield, and I'm like, oh my God, she's getting up there. I better get up there. No one else is there. And she plays it across the front of the goal, like right at the top of the 6. And I was there, and admittedly, I like hit it one time, and the goal, I shot it right at the goalie. It was just the goalie, and she, batted it down. But then I was there for the follow up and put it away.
Man. So you got the rebound and then tapped it away.
What an adrenaline rush! It was that was like the peak of my playing career, right? I peaked in high school.
That's okay. There's Jeff Lowe, who's the guy that peaked in high school, is what Rob Lowe?
Rob Lowe.
Yeah. Okay, so you won a state championship senior year. You scored the goal that won it. Did you know that you wanted to play in college after or before? Did you already commit? What was the college atmosphere like?
Good question. So, like I said, my club team was pretty full of pretty serious athletes, and Marion was a good soccer program too. So most of my teammates and kind of in that process of club soccer, they were getting looked at. And I was a player who, yes, I played and I started and I got a lot of minutes. But I was also like a pretty small player that I wasn't getting looks from like the D1 programs, the Iowa States, the Loyola. Like I wasn't really getting UNL. Lincoln wasn't looking at me to come be recruited.
Yeah.
And I was kind of in between. I kind of thought, yeah, I could play in college if I want to. Do I really want to? And I went back and forth. And high school soccer in Nebraska is in the spring. So, and when I was in high school, really people were starting to commit to colleges. I mean, you had the like one-offs that committed as like a freshman or sophomore.
Right.
Whether they panned out, who knows? But most people were committing like midway through their junior year.
Okay.
And for me, I always thought I want to get out of Omaha. I want to I don't want to be in Omaha. And if that means that I need to go to a school where I don't play soccer, like that's okay. Otherwise, some of the schools I looked at were like Division II schools where I was like, yeah, I could play, but I'm going to be in like a really small town in Missouri or Kansas, like somewhere I was just like, I don't know if that's the college experience I want. Like,
right.
And so when it really came down to it, I just remember like sitting at a stoplight down the street and being like, you know what? Yeah, I always thought UNO, University of Nebraska Omaha, would be the last place I ended up because it was in town. It's like literally 5 minutes away from my house.
Very close.
My sister went there, my brother went there, my parents went there. This is the last place I'm gonna go.
Man, yeah.
But really, I just remember sitting at that stoplight and being like, whoa, they're a Division II program. They're national champions. Like they're a good Division II program.
Yeah.
I could play, I could have an impact right away as a freshman or a sophomore. And also I thought I would get a good enough score on my ACT that I would get a region scholarship. And just these things were aligning where I thought there's going to be a great opportunity. They're a great school. They're in a bigger city. I should, if I should go to UNL. And so I committed. I was one of the first on my club team to actually make that commitment. And for me, it was just a logical choice of like great opportunity, great school. Yeah, it's in my hometown and really close to where my parents live, but I'm going to live on campus and have, create this different experience for me. So I committed early as a junior. So I already knew at that point of the state championship that I was
going to greener pastures. So yeah. that goal didn't
set me up. Yeah.
No, that didn't do okay. That's where I was hoping subconsciously that the story was going to go. That would have made actually a great.
The scouts were there. They saw her.
They saw it. They knew it. At that moment, I had 3 offers before I even got changed.
Came up to me after the game. Yeah, no.
That didn't happen like that. Okay.
No, but still obviously a special moment.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, being able to go play, although it's in your hometown of UNO, I mean, you have your friends, your family that's there, which most people, when you go and, off somewhere else and play, usually don't know anyone. So you're not really getting that much support from people that right? It's just all people you meet on campus. So that has a special part, I'm sure.
You asked too about like who my influences were. Like, I mean, I grew up with these posters of the UNO soccer team on my wall when I'm like 8, 9, 10 years old. Like, that was kind of cool to have that come full circle.
Are you a student that's struggling a little bit with the hybrid and virtual learning and looking to get just a little more help academically? Or are you a parent that has a child who's struggling to keep that same level of discipline and rigor that they had in the classroom at home? If any of these apply to you, check out No Stress Midwest Education, an academic tutoring service where we offer both in-person and virtual tutoring. One of the things that separates us from others is that all of our tutors are board certified educators in Kansas and Missouri in a variety of specialty topics and familiar with the latest curriculum in school districts around the metro area. We are passionate about helping students achieve their goals in the classroom and also committed to helping students build the necessary skills and tools they will need in the future to succeed on their own. Our team follows the latest guidelines from the CDC. We require masks for all in-person tutoring to protect both the student and the tutor. Our tutors will either travel to your home or meet at a predetermined location to conduct all in-person tutoring sessions. All we need is a space for learning, and we're ready to go. At No Stress Midwest, we truly believe in developing the well-rounded student athlete. No Stress Midwest does not tell you what to think, but teaches you how to think. No Stress Midwest Education, an academic tutoring service. For more information, visit www.nostressmidwest.com/education.
Do you think that you were the poster of or on the wall of some little girl when you were at UNO who like
Um,
said she wants to play and looked
you
at
know,
you and
I
said,
do think like I hope so, right? And I actually do. I remember being in college and like having one of my mom's friends or like her coworkers share a story like, yeah, you that exact story. Like
yeah.
you're on the poster and you're hanging up on my daughter's wall. Like
So yes, so that
that's,
did.
so that did actually happen.
What the heck?
And
So
usually I guess
exactly
those stories don't come back to you, but no, that did happen.
that.
So
So exactly what I
hopefully
said.
kind of cool, but
Okay.
yeah.
So all right, so when you were at UNO, your freshman year started, you talked about like one of the reasons why you chose UNO was being able to make like that early impact freshman, sophomore year-ish, right? So to your point, freshman year started 17 of 18 games, ended with 4 goals and 3 assists, which I think is as solid, if not overachieving, of a freshman year that anyone can, I mean, that you could ask for as a coach, right? Someone that's brand new to that. So what was freshman year like for you? What was the game like? Was it similar to Marin? Did that help you prepare for it? What was going on with that?
Yeah, so our freshman year, my freshman year at UNO, I think we had somewhere between 7 and 11 freshmen on our team. We had a big freshman class. I think we had 11, and someone can fact check me, and I think 7 of us started. And 3 of us were from my club team in Omaha, and then a couple other Omaha women that, I'd played with or was familiar with. So, we had really good chemistry right away. And I think my freshman year I was probably the most fit I've ever been in my entire life. And
Yeah.
I had kind of moved from being a center midfielder. I actually played on the wings in college for my first freshman year. And so, again, just running that like 18 to 18, like end line to end line, running the flanks. I was really fit. And I mean, it was just fun. There's so many things happening when you get to college and you're playing college soccer. So many things are happening around you. It's hard to soak everything in, but it was cool to get to travel and just to be in that environment. And I do remember thinking like, I'm so glad I decided to play college soccer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's honestly I've done a lot of stupid things in my life. But I'd say probably my biggest regret was not playing college soccer. Because that still is something where I'm like, man, if I would have done that, like who knows where things could have gone.
Yeah, now that, I mean, we've talked about this too. Now that I get the chance to coach high school girls, I definitely encourage them. Everyone gets to make their own decision, but I definitely encourage them. If you're even thinking about playing or not playing, play.
Do it.
Try and play, do it.
If you don't want it.
And yeah, and just play.
Don't
pursue it if you can. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay, but pursue it for sure. Yeah.
All right. So then the next 2 years you were at UNO, they were cut short due to injuries. But someone like you, and if the listeners haven't picked up on it, Monica is what you would call a go-getter. She is very highly intrinsically motivated, and she, while she was out those 2 years, it wasn't all those 2 consecutive years. You played games in both years. You just both ended with injuries. You started Football for the World, or I think that's kind of where you and some people came up with the idea. So before we get too much into that, what were the injuries,
Okay.
and how did you bounce back after each one? To like after that second one, were you thinking of hanging up the boots and it was like, I don't know if I want to go back to it, or was it just like, oh, this is just something, another speed bump along the road?
Right, right. So I'm going to back up too. I didn't mention this earlier, but my freshman year of high school, I had my very first knee injury and surgery. So
Okay.
I tore my meniscus, and it wasn't a specific incident. It was just kind of wear and tear over time, or maybe there was something specific, but then I played on it for a long time. So I came back, and I came back like the week before tryouts for high school, right? So freshman year, I made JV. And I was like, that's what that is. So totally fine. So I had that injury as a freshman in high school, and then no other knee issues. Now enter college, again, fun, great freshman year. And I think a key part of the story with UNO too is a lot of things were happening simultaneously. So at the end of my freshman year, UNO's athletic department said, hey, we're making the transition to become a Division I program. So the competition instantly changed from like who our Division II competitors were to that Division I slate.
Right.
And there was also this notion of, with that transition, you're not eligible to compete for postseason or championships. So
Freshman year.
freshman year we were, but sophomore year, now we're making that transition.
Okay, sophomore year is the
Division I
transition.
Division I program.
Okay.
And so I had a lot of teammates at that time that looked around and said, no, I want to compete, I'm going to transfer. Or just with that culture shift, we had a lot of girls that ended up quitting the program.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I looked around and I was like, I mean, I get to play soccer. I have a scholarship. My school is paid for. Like, yeah, I'm here to play soccer, but I'm also here to get the education. And so my sophomore year, we're going through this, and every single game was a road game because people weren't coming to play us. None of our games really counted for them. And my sophomore year, it was, I ended up getting like turf toe, and then I kept playing on it for so long because we needed players.
Right.
And that turned into a stress fracture.
Okay.
And I played through the pain for so long that I was 14 minutes over the eligible requirement to get a medical red shirt. So we tried to appeal it or this or that, but that wasn't in the cards for me. So that was my sophomore year ending injury. And then my junior year, I actually tore my ACL and my MCL and my PCL. Yeah. And I mean, that's a really tough injury, but luckily, again, I was in college at the time, and so I had the time to rehab it properly and just spent, hours every day in the training room doing rehab, doing physical therapy. So I feel fortunate that I had those resources and the time around me to make that comeback. Yeah. So no, I never thought about hanging up the boots. And like I said, I tried to apply, especially after missing 2 years then of, more than half a season. I tried to get that medical red shirt, and that just wasn't in the cards for me, but feel really lucky I got to come back for a full senior season.
Yeah, I was going to say your senior year started 14 out of the 15 games and ended with 3 goals and 3 assists. So you said you were happy to come back, obviously, and not only compete senior year, but complete senior year and like contribute, right? You're not just, someone that's there giving high fives. You're starting, you're playing. So you're a Division I athlete now, right? So you go in as, yeah, right. I know you. Yep. I don't know why you're being so modest today. This is weird. But so you ended your Division I athlete. You finished the season. What was your mindset maybe going into senior year as far as the next step? Like, was there ever I want to play pro maybe? I want to try overseas? Or did you know that this was the end and it was, what am I going to do after?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I didn't even I went on that tangent and I didn't even talk about answer your question about Football for the World or how that got started.
Oh
But
yeah, well, I've got that brought up again. So
yeah, okay, you'll
yeah,
ask
yeah,
me
yeah.
later.
Well, yeah, we'll go into that.
No, I was of this mindset, and I think it is kind of a credit to the time of in my I mean, it was 2014, right? So I thought that when college soccer was done. There was never and I who know I would not argue that I would have been great enough to go on and play professionally because there were definitely women at that time who were doing that, but not really from Omaha. And I was not that player, that standout player growing up anyway. But I truly thought, and I think this is the mindset of a lot of my teammates and a lot of women my age, it was, play high school, play college, and then it's done. Soccer's done. The
Mhm.
career's over. And it felt like a very finite thing at the time. Like,
For
it's
sure.
done.
Yeah.
It's done. And I didn't really think about getting into coaching or coming back and coaching at high school or doing that at the time. I really thought like, all right, senior
Soccer
night,
was done.
it's done. Soccer is over,
All right.
which is really sad to think about. So
Well,
I'm glad that's not the case. And I'm glad that's, hopefully not the case or the reality for a lot of women now.
well, shoot. I mean, even when I played, like as a guy, there was no one around me where I was like, oh yeah, he's going pro.
Right.
Like it was, if you played in college, like that's really good. But there was never a talk of someone going on, even though there was the MLS, obviously, and all of this stuff going on the men's side. But that with people I was around, it was never a thought.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I moved here and started coaching, and then I'm like, oh shoot, like there's a lot of people that can go pro. Okay, wait a second, how does this happen?
Sure.
Yeah, like what the heck? Um, but yeah, so okay, so you knew going into it, this was it. This was it for you. Come, playoff, come last regular season game. So I
Right. Right.
mentioned.
And we didn't have the playoffs, right? We
Oh
still weren't
right, yeah.
eligible to compete. So it was just like you play your games and we were strictly playing for the love of the game. That was it.
So why wouldn't even your senior year they wouldn't let you play postseason? How long of
Yeah.
a ban was it?
Or it's a 4-year transition. So there's a cohort of us that just weren't
That
eligible to
you
do that.
you were troopers,
Yeah,
man.
I looking back now, sure, trooper is a great word for it, or dumb. I don't know.
No, that wow, I didn't know that. I 4 years. So
Yeah.
wow, okay, all right, okay.
But again, like I said, you were there, yeah, to play soccer, but also to, hopefully grow a program that
Mhm.
you can be a part of something in that new era, and then for your education too.
Yeah, you said you had a free education, so I don't know. Most people usually have to pay for it. I was dumb enough to pay for it, so maybe I'm the dumb one. I don't know. But all right, so after college, then football for the world was already a thought, and I'm guessing it was 2 years that it was had been a company. So kind of talk to us very top level, and
Okay.
for the listeners, I've gave Monica very strict instructions not to go too in depth with football for the world, because I do plan on bringing her back on for another season where I tackle soccer entrepreneurs. But Monica, without spilling too much details and still plugging football for the world so you can get some publicity, what is it?
Okay.
What was it? How did it start? And what was that transition after college into adulthood and
Okay.
football for the world?
So I was really fortunate that during this whole transition from Division 2 to Division 1, I had a really supportive coach, and I knew that I wanted to study abroad at some point in college. And so I looked into studying abroad during the summer semester so I wouldn't miss a lot of soccer stuff. And because of the scholarship and the way I had it set up, it would help offset the cost if I went during a spring semester. And I had a coach that said, go for it. And so I missed a spring season. That was my sophomore year. And I wanted to go somewhere where the classes were in English. I don't know a second language, unfortunately. And then I'm also a sun seeker. And so I went to Botswana because I wanted to go somewhere it was warm
I've
and
never
sunny.
heard
Those
of
were
that.
my main two criteria. And
English and warm.
English,
I dig it.
I can't even
I dig it. Okay. So you found
two
Botswana.
really strong arguments. And it was my first time traveling outside of the country and
Yeah.
also my first time realizing how big of a game the game of soccer or
Yeah.
football is around the world. And it was instantly my way to connect with all the local people. And then also just, I went to the courts and I would play pickup soccer with all these guys in Botswana because I needed to stay in soccer shape.
Mm-hmm.
And that was its whole own experience that shaped me in a number of ways. And so that experience in Botswana, along with a coaching experience in Tanzania, working alongside the founder of Football for the World, Ollie Khan, who's based out of Canada, seeing his parents bring suitcases full of collected soccer gear to then pass out to the kids in Tanzania who were playing with, soccer balls that were made out of plastic bags and string or
Right.
just playing barefoot. That left a big impression on me. And so when I came back, that's where that passion came from, where I was like, I'm a college soccer player. We get new swag all the time.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way where I can collect this gear and then ship it abroad or pass it out to people. And so, yeah, I started collecting soccer gear from my teammates and kind of got them looped into this whole idea of sport and soccer as a way to, create social change and empower other kids who wouldn't have access to it. And so that was kind of the start of how I got into Football for the World. And fast forward, now it's my full-time job. So we'll share that full story another time.
Yeah. So was it when you graduated, was that full time for you? Hello?
I lost you for a second.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
Hi.
I said when you
You're
graduated,
good. Yeah.
was Football for the World full time for you then?
No, we had no, it wasn't. We had used a fiscal sponsor for some of our fundraising initiatives up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that making Football for the World a full-time job was kind of the ultimate goal, but I knew I needed to get a job first that would give me some experience in the nonprofit world, and also pay me, get me a paycheck and like health benefits.
Yeah.
And so I started working for a nonprofit after college. And we incorporated Football for the World in 2015 as a nonprofit. Okay. So a year later is when we officially incorporated. Yeah, and I was a business.
Are you ready to take your game to the next level? Trust the process and sign up for No Stress Midwest training today at www.nostressmidwest.com/training. No Stress Midwest primarily offers training for soccer players on the individual, group, and team settings of all ages and skill sets. Our training is customized for the player, and our goal in doing that is to continue to grow the love of the game, build a personal desire to want to develop, and create the chance and choice for the player to play at the next level. We have developed a unique solution here at No Stress Midwest Training, showing our clients that you can have fun while still getting better. By creating a unique training environment customized to the player, we feel that not only are we able to get the most out of the individual by creating a no-stress environment, but we are also teaching them fundamentals that they can carry off the field and apply in their everyday life. Visit our website at www.nostressmidwest.com/training and sign up for your first session today.
Not laughing at you.
All right. Okay, so let's talk about how we met. So we met at a coaching license course, maybe a year and a half ago. So we're taking a C license through U.S. Soccer, and there's, I think, maybe 25 of us, 20, something like that. Only 2 females, Monica and Lauren.
Yeah.
Lauren, yeah. Lauren's another high school soccer coach in Nebraska. And I don't remember like what it was that drew us together. It might have been that test where we got the same. We were the same.
Where we looked at each other and we're like, we're the same person.
Yeah, the exact same person. So we kind of just hit it off from there. So how did you get involved in coaching? What made you want to get involved with that?
Yeah, so my, in college, I kind of coached. I would like volunteer coach for young teams, and you always work camps or this or that. But I never really pictured myself being a coach, even high school or club or whatever it may be.
Right.
And I actually my coach from my freshman high school, so my JV coach from freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
he called me or emailed me one day and said, "Hey, I'm looking for an assistant. I think you'd be a really good coach. Do you want to come be my assistant at Westside High School?" And I was flattered and excited. I'm like, yeah, okay, this sounds great.
Yeah.
And so it was really someone who knew me and knew my personality that tapped me on the shoulder and extended that olive branch and said, "Hey, I think you'd be really good at this. Come coach with me."
Right.
And so I started at Westside, and then ironic as that may be, the coach from Marion was leaving, and Marion called and said, "Hey, we know you got into coaching. Do you want to come coach at Marion?" And
So
I never.
Second time you've left Wesley.
So I transferred again. And I never pictured in a million years that I would get to be a coach at Marion High School, my alma mater, this like school I just have a lot of respect and can give them a lot of credit for who I am today. So never thought I'd coach there, and interviewed. I didn't know at the time if it would be a head coach position, a co-coach position, if I would be the assistant. I just kind of went in and had the conversation with the AD,
Mm-hmm.
and who was like my math teacher in high school, and kind of those small world moments of like, oh, you were my dean of discipline, and now you're my colleague. Like, are you sure you're not gonna get me in trouble if I do something wrong?
If I curse in front of you, what if do you still call them Mr. and Miss?
No, and I call them by their first names, and all my friends from high school are like, "What are you doing?"
Right, like, whoa, Monica.
Yeah. So I had this conversation, and there was a woman who had been the assistant coach the year before, Teresa DeGeorge, and so she ended up getting the head coach title, and then I'm one of her assistant coaches, and we had never met before. She's also a grad, and it was kind of like a blind date almost of like getting set up with this coaching staff, but it could not have worked out any better. Our personalities complement each other quite well.
So, and you're the second person. So, and I find it's not that uncommon that a head coach does not pick their coaching staff, that everyone like interviews for the school at the school, and then the school selects who they want, which is interesting. There's Nelson in the background. Just
we get to talk about him too, right?
Yeah, Nelson. Yeah, we can talk about big guy. There you go. But yeah, so that's good that it worked out. You're obviously still in Marion.
Yeah.
What is best case, right? We took our C. That's not, to me, I thought the C was a very big step in license as far as like mom and dad coach to like someone to do it professional. I was then told by someone else that the B license is now the one that says you're serious about it. I feel like it's kind of like a bachelor's degree and master's degree, where like you can't get a job unless you have a master's now. So what's your best case with coaching? Where do you want to get to? What licenses do you want to amass? What's up?
Right. Good question. So part of the reason I was so determined, I guess you could say, or to get my C and wanted to take that license was really just knowing and studying the backgrounds of, why don't we have more women DOCs? Well, to be a DOC of a state association, you have to have your A license. Okay, right. Well, what are the demographics of people getting their A licenses? Not that many women, so the pool is smaller. And I had been I don't even remember when I did my D, midway through coaching or getting into coaching. I was progressing through it. And going through the C, it was just kind of a commitment that I wanted to make to myself to, like, again, push myself, continue to learn,
Yeah.
add this credential, also with the understanding and background that oftentimes for women, you have to have the credentials behind your name before you're taken seriously to begin
Mm-hmm.
with, or you have to prove, that you can do this before that assumption is just given that you're a good coach. And so
Yeah.
with my role with Football for the World and just as a high school coach, and Nelson, it's okay. I knew that I wanted to go out and get my C license.
Right.
And part of my goal,
Oh, okay. That's cool, Nelson.
he doesn't like this part of the story, I
Yeah.
guess. Nelson. Anyway, part of my motivation is that I do think, and I think that there should be more female instructors when it comes to coaching courses. And I think as society, that's kind of a goal we should all have. And so part of getting my C was getting those credentials so that I could ultimately become an instructor of some of the courses, would be a goal of mine in the future. We'll see if the B is really in my future or not. At the time when we took our course, you did have to have your B to become an instructor, but now they've changed that. So
Okay.
we'll see if I have the opportunity to go through those instructors courses. COVID kind of messed a few of those things up as well.
Yeah. Well,
But
if you are an instructor, I really know that you're going to be a good one. And we've obviously talked about experiences that we both had while taking the course. So I will hold you very accountable and make sure that
no, you will. No,
that
you will.
people aren't talking about you in the ways that that people talk about other instructors.
Oh yeah, I just think that that's kind of a big motivation for me is, how do we have women in role model and leadership positions to hopefully influence other coaches in the game.
So, quick question. What are you doing as a kid? Are you doing now what you thought you would be doing?
No.
As a college student, are you doing now what you thought you would be
I'm
doing?
gonna say yes and no. I thought as a kid I was going to be a doctor. Okay, that's the farthest thing from what I could do with my life.
Yeah.
And in college, I was a business major, marketing management. So definitely the business side of me is still in full force. But really at the end of the day, like, I thought my job in some capacity would be helping people. And that is what I get to do as a coach and as the ED of Football for the World. So I'm really happy with how everything worked out. And also as a kid and even a college student, I don't think I realized that, like, this job position was even a thing. So, you live and you learn, and here we are, and I have the best job in the world.
Yeah. Well, it's cool how that works out. And I have this talk to myself a lot that I think we are very fortunate. We can talk about our country and life, and we can complain all we want, but at the end of the day, like, it's where we are. And I think being here in the US, we are very fortunate, more fortunate than most countries, where I truly feel you can create your life, like you can create a job for you now more than ever. And I think it's so cool finding people, and which is why I want to have you on the entrepreneurship one, finding people that probably didn't start off thinking that this is what they would be doing, but as life has kind of happened for them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, just there's a lot of entrepreneurs that I'm sure we'll talk about in the next season that, like, didn't think that this company or entity would start out of the trunk of their car or the basement of their college house or their condo in downtown Kansas City. Like,
No Stress Midwest that came up. I thought of the idea on a plane ride home for the holidays, and I was just like, wow, that sounds cool. Yeah. Let's roll with this. So, all right, Monica, I have to ask you this question. What are steps? You've kind of talked about your goal with getting involved with coaching to get more women in coaching and to grow the game in that way. What are some other steps that are there for women to get involved in soccer after their playing career? right? Because like you said, you didn't know this was a job, like, so what do you recommend if there's, 2 or 3 bits of advice you could give young females listening on what to do, whether they're getting ready to graduate high school and they know they're not playing in college, or whether they're playing in college and know they're not playing professionally?
Yeah. I think number one, just, and this can be advice to all current coaches too, is start thinking about your current players, boys or girls, and especially girls, and start planting that seed, at younger age groups. Hey, have you ever thought about coaching? And being sure that you're extending kind of that offer of like, hey, if you ever want to shadow me for a practice, or if you ever want to know about kind of the back end of coaching and what goes into it, you're welcome to come watch me run a practice, or I'm happy to have coffee with you and talk to you about it. That's something that a mentor of mine really hit home. She would, every time she would guest coach for a different team, especially female teams, she would ask everyone, hey, have you ever thought about coaching? And it's just a really conversational, easy thing to ask young players and girls, and say, oh yeah, like you should definitely think about it. This is what I do for my full-time job. So just that simple piece of like asking and planting the seed. I can say in the, 6 years that I've been a coach, I make a point to ask that with different teams. And I have more girls raising their hands saying, yes, I've thought about it now than I did when I started asking the question 5 or 6 years ago, which is exciting to me. So I think, planting that seed, I think just as a whole in society, the more that we normalize and emphasize women and girls in sports being a normal thing, that's going to help move the needle forward a little bit more. If you're in college or if you're in high school, I think just keep that door open and know to reach out to your former club or your former school and say, hey, I'm interested in coaching, ask how you can get involved. And I know that there are plenty of soccer clubs that are looking for great new young coaches to get involved in the game.
And most of the times club coaches don't require licenses, right, to get started with. So
or they'll help you get them.
Right. Or they'll help you get, and to me, the licenses, once you get to a certain level, are like scholarships. Like you shouldn't, like a C license, I had to not come out of pocket. I was able to get some help with that. But you get to a certain level where the club should be helping you get that, because then it becomes an investment for them, knowing that they have this young college graduate that just finished playing. Well, kids are going to naturally flock to them because they relate to them more. So why not put up $250 for like a D-Light, or whatever the cost is, to make them more educated. And I think it goes into, those youth coaches need to be, I think, some of the most educated coaches, because those kids are learning so much stuff from these guys. And if they're telling you how to do something wrong for 6 years, well, the next coach is going to have to like work really hard to undo, certain things. So
and I think too, the way to kind of attract and retain female coaches, young or those of us that have been coaching for a while too, is just making sure that that environment in the club is, inclusive and adaptable to the different needs that female coaches might have, or other commitments that they might have. And how are you helping set that coach up for success? And don't just put everything back on the woman to have to problem solve and figure it out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we transition into the generic questions, is there any final words or any final thoughts, ideas that you want to say to the listeners? If you can, like, was it reach one to teach one? One of those little cute moments. What one thing can you give right now?
I haven't used that phrase, reach one to teach one. That's adorable. Aw. No, just my big thing is just don't be afraid to reach out for help, or support, and find your network and find the people that are going to back you and support your ideas, whether it's running a podcast and supporting your friends and just calling them in rather than calling them out when you want them to have females on, or whatever you want to pursue, definitely pursue it to the fullest that you can.
Okay. So I have to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, and I'm hoping that we get football for the world maybe one of these seasons or one of these episodes. But I want to shout out AGY Performance Training. If you're a soccer player in the Kansas City area, elite or pre-elite, and you've got next level goals, AGY Performance Training should be on your radar. Over a dozen MLS, NWSL, and USL pros, they all trust AGY to get them ready for the grind that is professional soccer. Find them on Instagram at a.greater.u or AGY Performance Training. All right, so Monica, just start thinking of the Football for the World sponsor or the ad. Think about what you want to say, and we can discuss that for season 3.
We do need just a whole other episode devoted to Football for the World and all the initiatives we're working on. So I'll work on an ad to condense that into our 30-second elevator pitch.
Yeah, if you could. I know that might be tough, so maybe
It'll be on my to-do list.
Maybe ask somebody else to do it. All right, so Mon, the generic questions here. You're familiar with them because you ping some of the kids that you work with to come up with these questions. So they're going to be fast-paced. Don't want you to put too much thought in it, but understand that you will 100% be judged to the highest level if you give an incorrect
cereal. I know.
If you give it any incorrect answer, and there are incorrect answers here. I don't want you to think that there's no such thing as a wrong answer. Yes, there is. There is. This is life, and you can get things wrong.
You could be a soccer instructor.
I should maybe not. Maybe not.
There are wrong answers. Okay.
Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. If you were not working with Football for the World, what would you be doing?
My dream job would be picking the soundtracks for movies. Or being a wildlife videographer for shows like Planet Earth.
What the heck? You've really thought about that.
I don't have that skill set, but that would be like the ultimate in another life. Those 2 jobs. I think they'd be so fun.
Wow. All right.
I have thought about, like, I not even just for this podcast. Like, I've had to answer that question.
Clearly, I can tell. All right. So if there was one person you would like to thank to help you get to where you are now, who would it be?
One person?
One.
My college soccer coach.
Is that Mims?
No.
Okay.
He was the men's coach.
He was on the men's side. All right.
Don Klosterman gets a lot of credit for where I am today.
Awesome. All right. That's a nice little shout out for him. You can cut this portion out and send it to him. Okay. Cereal. Do you put milk in?
The cereal goes in before the milk.
After?
The cereal goes in before the milk.
Okay. What about after you finish it? If there's still milk left over, can you dump more cereal in there? No.
Right.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. You are in the minority with that answer on dumping the cereal back in. It's 2-1.
I hadn't heard. Yeah, that hadn't been that was a follow-up one.
Yeah, well, I can't tell you everything I'm gonna ask you.
I feel like I'm just satisfied, like, after it's done, so it's done.
So you're okay with it? You just drink the milk and that's it? We're done?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I dig it. Were you a good soccer player in 3rd grade?
Yeah.
Everyone keeps saying yes. I don't know what kind of, actually,
I was telling you, like, my friend Margaret and I, we just tore it up on the playground at recess. Like,
tripping boys,
good.
shoving them over, telling them that they're inferior.
I didn't peak in 3rd grade. Like, I peaked senior year of high school.
Senior year of high school,
but
freshman year of college. That was
I didn't peak in 3rd grade, but yeah, I was good.
You were decent.
Yeah.
So what other sports did you play at recess?
Foursquare.
Oh man, that's a classic. Okay, you're doing pretty good. far.
Epic battles on the Foursquare.
You're doing good so far. I remember you sent me the picture of you in your little windbreaker warm-up suit. Did you
You could tell I was a baller based on my outfits.
Did you wear that when you were playing Foursquare? Did you like put that on and then like rip it off before it was your time to step up?
You know, I went to a Catholic grade school, so
no.
I had uniforms on.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I did that one time. I had the windbreaker pants with the buttons.
Of course
And we were playing tetherball, and I was playing this dude. I had a crush on his sister, and I was playing him, and she was there. And this was like going to be the moment I make my move.
You won her over, yeah.
Ripped off the pants, threw them down, told my boy to, hey, don't let them blow away. My mom doesn't know I'm wearing them yet. As I'm playing him, his friend shoved me into the tetherball pole, and I chipped my tooth because I was beating him. And I still have, yeah, I will never forget that. Her name was Brooke Dieter. She's now married, so I don't know what her.
Oh, Brooke, if you're out there.
Listen, I tried. Third grade me was heartbroken after that.
Sure.
Okay, so let's see. What would you offer? What bit of advice would you offer for people to stay in shape during their off seasons?
Like, what? Like, are we talking about college player, a high school player?
Let's say high school.
Like, washed up, like me who's playing pickup.
for a second grade, no, for a high school player. They're in high school. Maybe they're the freshman, sophomore. They're still in high school though, so they don't have the college plan. They want to play in college, maybe, or it's still on their thought process. What are you giving? What advice are you giving to them?
I'm just giving them, like, enjoy it, build that relationship with the ball, as much training as you can do, ball against the wall and technical training, and just having fun, having those pickup games with your friends. And then, if you are at that level where you're like, I'm going to be really serious about this, again, find your friends, find that bestie of yours, that teammate of yours that's going to go run hills with you, or go shoot PKs, or go work on whatever you need to work on. But make sure just, enjoying the company that you're with and having a good time with it. And
yeah, find that trainer who
find that trainer in the Kansas City area.
Yeah,
I think it's called No Stress Midwest, and have them help you with your off-season plans.
I've heard of them. I hear they're legit.
Is that the plug you wanted? Was that the correct answer?
Plug. That was it. You passed.
Great.
All right. So Monica, as we wind down, the final part that's gonna either make or break you or the podcast, your episode, is gonna be your 5-a-side.
Okay.
Now, I'm gonna be honest. I was talking to Caitlin, your friend Caitlin, and I did not know that Caitlin not only did one commercial with Messi, but she's done 2. So when she mentioned, I won't go into who's on that.
Am I on hers?
As I look through here, just one time, the answer is no.
Okay.
But that does not mean that she can't be on yours. Don't be that. Don't be that person.
I have my list.
Don't be that person.
Me, Caitlin, and Messi, we would make a solid 3.
Well, it's only once you get added. Those 2 are okay together, but you are the glue that makes those 2 work. We know that.
That's great.
So, Monica,
okay,
who's on the Dream 5-a-side with people you've ever played with? Do not forget a goalie, and I'd like for you to be a player on the team.
Okay, I did put myself on the team. Okay, I was like, good. I'm playing. Like, I am here to ball. Okay,
yeah,
I'm here
you gotta play. Right. Yeah. Okay.
So the group that I've played with, I am selecting Caitlin as my goalie.
Okay, that's fair.
Because she has the skill. I've played with her, and it translates to the field. She's a great field player, and then she has that goalkeeper background. So Caitlin's my goalie.
Caitlin's that makes it. That's good.
Then I'm picking Speedy Williams. Devin Speedy Williams. He plays for Louisville in the USL Championship. He's a reggae boy. he has a phenomenal story. We play with him in Jamaica every year, and he's so good.
Okay, Devin Williams.
Yep. Then I'm picking two near and dear friends. I'm picking our director of programming and a good friend of mine, Joe Marinkovic. He was also a center midfielder from UNO. We work together now. He's great. And then I'm going with a friend of mine who I actually coached at Marion, and now she plays at Drake, Megan Valenzuela. She is like just one of those players that's a great defender, and she's also like super intense and super passionate and like will not like, hates to lose. So you want her on your 5-a-side team because she just I've got to have some people on defense.
Win. Yeah,
I'm not defense.
And where are you? Are you holding down the center mid, the middle of the field, or are you going on the wings, or are you trying to recreate that senior goal? The senior state championship goal.
Williams, his skill set is he's a center midfielder too, and he's so good at just distributing and like turning on. So I'm gonna leave that to him in the midfield. I'll probably just like hang out up top, let him feed me balls, you know.
Just hang out, just be there. All right.
Happy to be here.
We've got that. Now the next one is 5 people or 4 people that you wish to play with, but haven't yet. We'll say yet because you never know what could happen.
Yeah. This is true.
So
okay. I am bending the goalkeeper rule on this one. Because you let someone else have a sweeper keeper.
Okay, fair.
So Julie Ernst is my sweeper keeper.
Have you talked to her about this?
We haven't discussed it, but I think she'd be open to it.
Okay. All right.
Then we've got Crystal Dunn.
Yeah.
Who's like she is my all-time favorite player.
Crystal
Then
Dunn. You have her as defense or forward?
I have her on defense for this one. Yeah. But she can get up, you know, it's a fluid game.
Yeah.
She can get up, and you know she's brilliant at attacking too, so she can hold it down.
She can do both.
And then I'm picking Julie Foudy.
Okay.
But she was like the person she was, you know, played center midfield, and I played center midfield, so then I think she would be a really fun teammate, and she reads the game really well, and like you gotta have Julie Foudy.
Okay, you gotta.
And then my final person is Marta.
Marta.
Yeah. So I think we have a really fun team, and I would like to be friends with all of these people. So we would definitely like.
So is this a shameless plug for them to listen and try to like become friends with them now?
Maybe if any of them are future podcast guests, maybe they'll pick me.
I can give you a shout out and be like, hey, Julie Foudy, crazy thing. You picked Monica. Monica picked you too. Who knew that you two both wanted to play with each other on the same?
Yeah, it could happen. No, I think we'd have a really fun team.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Monica, that kind of wraps it up. It was really fun, but I knew it would be fun. We're like friends in real life.
For hours.
What?
We could have gone for hours. So
yeah. Well, we normally
cutting it short for just like the listener's sake.
We normally talk on FaceTime for like over an hour, just on GP. So it could have got long. I'm glad we were able to keep it structured. I think that the listeners are going to have a different kind of feel because we're friends. Like, I don't know, not like I'm not friends with the other people, but like I probably speak to you more than any of the other podcast guests just to speak. Yeah. So I definitely think there's camaraderie there. Monica is the inspiration behind season 2 with the all-female list. And we have completed season 2, which is super nuts. I kind of got chills just saying that. 11 episodes, 11 of some of the most badass women that I've met, both current players, coaches, people that are in the entrepreneurship world, but we all have that same love of the game. I've met some great people during this, made some really great connections. And Monica, I wanted to thank you for implanting the idea in my head and not letting me be excited about season 1 but more so telling me that season 2 should be better. Sometimes you need that tough love. So Monica, to close out season 2, to close out the podcast, what are you leaving us with?
Well, I just have to say thank you for enacting on taking the idea and not being super offended and mad at me and not talking to me again, but like actually doing something about it and putting out these podcasts. So thank you for what you did and sharing all these stories. And yeah, everyone enjoy.
Awesome. Well, let's say bye to Nelson real quick. I know this is the first time I haven't seen him jump on you while you're sitting there. So that's a first. He's behaving. That's good. He's just chilling. So there's Nelson. Monica posts a picture of Nelson every day. Has some pretty cool party ideas for Nelson. Just loves him. She's a big supporter of Arya, even though she's never met her. But she's probably would start an Instagram for her if I told her to. So Monica, thank you. All the listeners, thank you for being a part of this journey. Season 2's in the books. We've already got season 3 on the way. Looking to start in early 2021. And everyone, you have a good one. Just had Thanksgiving yesterday. Remember why you're thankful. Remember who you're thankful for. And peace out, everybody.